Hello everybody, welcome back to Super Gaming Review. Today I want to make another video talking about game console exclusives and do exclusives matter. Now there's been some debate and people have had, you've seen people have debates or discussions about, do exclusives matter or should every single game ever be basically on every single platform? And when it comes to gaming consoles, we've seen a change, especially for Xbox, where they are now going multi-platform. They've been going multi-platform for years, and with the PlayStation side of things, they'll have a game on PlayStation for like a year or so, and then they'll have a port to PC. So, how do I feel about how do I feel about console exclusives, and do I think that the direction multi-platform is actually good? Now, I've seen both sides. I'm going to tell people my side of this discussion. And it's not really, you know, I don't think anyone is really wrong for having an opinion that either goes this way or that way. It's just kind of a, what do you think? Where do you think games should go? And do you think exclusives actually matter? Some people say exclusives don't matter, but I'm on the side of exclusives because, I bought a Switch 2 for Mario Kart. That's what made me buy the system. I bought a PlayStation 4 for games like Killzone, Last of Us, stuff like that. I got a PS5 for like Astrobot and certain games of this system. So obviously exclusives matter. And with Xbox games going to PC and PlayStation, it no longer matters to own an Xbox. So the reason why exclusives matter, especially from a business perspective, is, for many, many decades, you bought a game console because it had the games that you want, right? People used to buy Xboxes for Halo or Gears of War. People buy PlayStation for Killzone, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, and The Last of Us, right? You buy Nintendo for Nintendo games. And that's how it's always been. Do people not understand that the Nintendo Wii was so successful because it literally had its own exclusive games? The Xbox 360, Gears of War, Halo, it made that system very popular. On the PlayStation side of things, PS2 had God of War, the original Killzone, and other certain games like I think like Jackson Daxter, is that what it's called? But the point I'm making though is that exclusives are what sold these systems. GTA is a perfect example. GTA San Andreas on the PlayStation 2 was like the best-selling game for that system, and it was I believe it was like a it did come eventually to the Xbox, but it was like a timed exclusive where it stayed on the PlayStation 2, and they advertised the hell out of it for PlayStation 2. But that's a perfect example of exclusives actually mattering because exclusives are what sells the game console. I understand some people would prefer a more boring direction. Like Xbox took the boring path, instead of fighting and being competitive, Xbox was like, you know what, we're just gonna put our games on every other platform. And now Xbox is literally putting their games on PlayStation, and it's kind of weird, But sure, they do make money for their games, but what makes more money is a game console with its own exclusives like Nintendo Switch, and it explodes in popularity. Nintendo Switch, Smash Bros, Mario Kart, it became one of the best-selling game consoles of all time. PlayStation 2, one of the best-selling game consoles of all time, also has its exclusive games. The Xbox 360, that's still loved to today, has Gears of War, the Halo series. PlayStation 3 has the Killzone trilogy, the God of War games, obviously The Last of Us, and that's what made those systems so popular. If your platform is just, basic, it has just the games everybody else has, then who the fuck cares about buying a console? And that's kind of the issue I have, is that You know, if you go back in time, you had Sega versus Nintendo. You bought a Sega Genesis for Sonic. You bought Nintendo for Mario. That's how it was. You buy a PlayStation for Killzone, buy an Xbox for Halo. So, in my personal opinion, exclusives matter. And exclusives are what made Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation so successful. It was Halo that made Xbox a success. It was, those big games on PlayStation, Uncharted, The Last of Us, stuff like that, that made the PlayStation successful. Spider-Man, huge success, right? So, I don't believe that we should go towards this direction. I don't want to see Nintendo games on Steam. I don't want to see, PlayStation putting every game they make on Xbox, Um, I think I think what's best for gaming is actually real competition because you get games out of it. Xbox 360 versus PlayStation 3, they went head to head, and we saw some fantastic games being made. And for another example, let's say the PlayStation 4 launched, right? If you made the PlayStation 4 but decided to put every single major exclusive PlayStation 4 game on, let's say, Xbox and the PC, the PlayStation 4 would never have sold as well as it did, right? So, in my personal opinion, exclusives do matter. I don't believe in this little Xbox fantasy land where we need to go multi-platform. I don't believe Nintendo should do it either. What made these consoles so successful is their exclusive games that you can't play anywhere else, When I got my PC, right, my laptop, guess what game I got it for? Counter-Strike. Because I can't play Counter-Strike on my PlayStation 5. So, games do have some power to them, and if you have an exclusive game that's on a certain platform that you really want to play, you're going to buy that platform. So, that's just my opinion. But anyway, leave a like, comment down below what you think about game console exclusives, and should exclusives really be dead? Should we really go multi-platform on everything, or should we actually keep exclusives, and should we actually do what they do in the past, and when you actually make a game console, should that console still have its own games, right? Should we really go the multi-platform way? I know that Xbox chose that path, but when there's no competition and when there's no major games for these big platforms and there's no competition, the market is very boring. You're not going to see as much effort into these games. And when there's no competition, these game companies could just make whatever crap they want and they'll just make tons of money for it. But, I think the best way to go about gaming is competition, exclusives. And again, I bought Nintendo Switch 2 for Mario Kart. I bought the original Switch for Mario Kart and Smash Bros. I bought my PC for freaking games like Counter-Strike and Half-Life. And I got my PlayStation 5, obviously, for PlayStation games, and yeah, so I just don't understand why people think that we need to kill off exclusives because these consoles won't sell then, and in my opinion, it will be less fun, and when there's less competition, there was less effort going into games, and when there's no big competition like we've seen in the past with PlayStation, Xbox, it starts to feel stale, and yeah, I don't like the Xbox direction. I don't like the whole multi-platform path. I think it's really unnecessary, and PlayStation and Nintendo have shown that they can succeed doing exactly what they've been doing, making exclusives for their consoles. Sure, PlayStation has been putting PlayStation games on Steam as, after a little while they put them on Steam. But it's unnecessary, if Steam isn't gonna give PlayStation Counter-Strike or give PlayStation, let's say like a Half-Life remaster or some shit like that, then why put your games on Steam? If your game makes the most money on your own platform, then why even branch out to begin with? That's kind of just my opinion. Obviously, Counter Strike's not going to be coming to PlayStation anytime soon. I bought a laptop for Counter Strike, so obviously these games hold some value and hold some, maybe even nostalgia factor, or they just hold some power to them. But games games are what makes you buy the platform, and if your games are all over the place on every single platform, then literally game consoles no longer matter. But you see, I don't really like that future, I don't like that bullshit future where, there's not gonna be really consoles anymore. It's just some live streaming bullshit service, or, it's like, you no longer a box like Xbox no longer matters. I don't want that future. I want to actually have a console. Okay, I want the excitement of competition. I want to see what these big companies can do because it's fun. It's good for gamers to have competition and to actually have these big games on these certain platforms. It's actually good. It's been, it's since the beginning of gaming, it's been a thing. The Atari versus the Intellivision, Sega versus Nintendo, and then with PlayStation versus Xbox. It's always been a competition for who has the best games. And when you take that experience away, it's gonna get really boring real quick. It's gonna get really greedy real quick, like we've been seeing. And when there's no competition and no exclusives, I don't really want no part of it because that's not the way things should be. So, but anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment down below again what you think about exclusive games and multi-platform gaming. But yeah, I've chosen my side of this debate, this discussion I've seen online. And I don't understand wanting a future where everything is on everything and it no longer matters. I think it's a depressing future, to be completely honest with you. And, yeah, I buy specific systems for specific games, and I'm perfectly okay and happy with that. So, anyway, peace out. Oh yeah.